Why I'm an idiot. I had two choices. I could have learned a Sichos that's 6 pages or 13 pages.
It's the same for you.
It's so much to prepare. I'm doing it in 2 weeks, this week and next week, okay? So we once learned the Sichos grad. I remember learning the Sichos here. We're learning it many years now. We started Samach, I think. Mendel Brickman started Yishurim, you know that? Mendel Brickman, Allah Shalom. Started Yishurim. I'm looking at Eden. Und die Kinder sind gesund, sind Jiden. So we'll do it in 2 weeks. It's a Siyum of Meseches Nazir. It's a beautiful Siyum. And for Shmuel, this I'm saying for Shmuel HaKohen, the go'oiness of the Sichos is how exact it is. The Rebbe takes the halacha and 2 shtiklach hagoda at the end of Meseches Nazir, and it shows that they're all saying exactly the same thing. It's typical of the Rebbe. He connects the last Mishnah and halacha Meseches Nazir with the agodas of the Siyum of the Masechta, and he shows that they're parchet making exactly the same point. And what's interesting about it is it's a machlokes between 2 shitas of Yosi and Nihorai, and it weaves through all the machlokes. It's very fascinating. It's really beautiful. So today we're going to learn more than half, bli neder. And next week we'll finish. Today we're going to learn the Yesod, this is the Nekuda of the Sichos. We're going to move quickly. We'll do a lot of skipping.
No.
Your brother made a wedding, right?
For sure.
Before Shavuos. So I'm thinking that's why the Simons are in here. You're representing the ganze Mishpacha. This shir is 50% Simon and 50% Levi. Okay. By the dinim for Nazir be Pashas Seder. In Pashas Nazir dinim of Nazir. It says, as the Bentona drinking came wine, you're not allowed to drink any wine. Vitar la yaver al reishi, you're not allowed to cut you here. On kol yemei azir la deshem al nefesh meis la yavi, you're not allowed to become tummy la meis. Right? There's 3 dinim in a Nazir. Basically, you're not allowed to drink wine, you're not allowed to cut you here with a blade, and you're not allowed to become tummy. Okay? 4 lines from the end of the paragraph, please. Lenentman from up. We learn from this as they gain on that these 3 halachas of not drinking wine, not cutting, and not becoming tummy mesim, sai by a nazir if a bestimmten zman shleishim yom, both for a nazir which is for 30 days. Other mer, in other words, for a fixed amount of time. Sai by a Nazir, sai by a person called a Nazir for life, which is a Nazir of Shem. The classic example, Nazir Olom, is Shmuel HaNavi, which you'll see in a moment, and Avshalom. Avshalom, David HaMelech's son, who made a revolution, was also Nazir Olom. He had long locks, and his hair got caught in the tree, and that's why Yair was able to kill him. He was a Nazir Olom. And the Rebbe continues, the Chiluk.
Shimshon.
No, wait, Shimshon, wait.
Oh, Shimshon's
The chiluk to Vishen Zeh is no, the difference is. As a Nazir, if a bestimmten Zman, if you say you become a Nazir for 1,000 years, Tar sich nit magaleach sein besef Nezirus. He's never taking a haircut. Finished. Nobody lives 1,000 years, he's never taking a haircut. When a Nazir Olom, but if you say Hadran Nazir Olom, I'm a Nazir for life, so then there's a special halach. Is sich megaleach, he's megaleach, and he brings 3 karbonos, skip the parenthesis, when his hair becomes heavy, which is 12 months. Every 12 months, and I'm assuming in a leap year, he has to wait 13 months. And Nazir Olom, he's tired. He never became Tomei. He cuts his hair and he brings 3 karbonos and continues his Nezirus. So there's 2 dinim in Nezirus. There's a Nazir Lazman Katzuf, right? Stam Nazir Shloshim Yain, but you can make a Nezirus for 100 days, for 1,000 days. It's just not allowed to be less than 30 days. And then you never cut your hair, and then Nazir Olom cuts his hair once a year. 3rd paragraph. Sefarah nochasuk for Nazirus. The 3rd category of Nazirus. Was is nicht mefulish in Torah, it's not explicit in the Torah. Aber we find it in the Nevi'im and the Haftarah from their Seder, which is Shimshon HaGibel. Because Shimshon was not a complete Nazir. By Shimshon state, Moira Layala al Roshi is never allowed to cut his hair because the Zira Lakim Yanar. Min from birth, from infancy, he's going to be a Nazir. Oich is a Nazir Olom, he's also a Nazir Olom. But hat nicht called the Nazir, he's not a regular Nazir. For a Meg, hat sich metame given the Mason. Nazir Shimshon HaGibel aren't killing people. And by a goy is metam if you touch him, right? So Shimshon HaGibel was metam l'meis many times, because his Nezirus consisted of not drinking wine, not cutting his hair, but he was allowed to be metam l'meis. And the Rebbe therefore,
So his mother was also had to be careful
when she was pregnant, and he became a Nazir because of a Malach. Yeah, the Rebbe b'shas einer sagt, Hadran Nazir Shimshon. If a person says I'm not like Shimshon, so there's a machlokes. So das Rabbi Yosi. Unazei paskin the Rambam is that also b'yayim b'teklachas umutar litam l'meisim. In other words, the Rambam paskins that there is such a thing called Nazir Shimshon. And Nazir Shimshon is allowed to be mitam l'meisim. He just does, by the way, the hardest thing is to be mitam, not to be mitam l'meisim, because that's by mistake. But pesa pissim.
Yeah.
If you're going to be a Nazir like Shimshon, not to drink wine, not to cut your hair, is in your control. Right? So it's a much easier status of Nazir. And the Rambam holds that's not the pshat that Shimshon zepsa. Shas, what is the lashon? The fish, tzedek shah, the fish shah. But it's a geder in Nezirus. But you're allowed to become tummy. Okay? Now, so we have three concepts of Nezirus: a regular Nazir, a Nazir Olom who cuts every 12 months, and Shimshon. And the Rebbe says that Shimshon is a Nazir Olom. 3 lines in the top of the second column, which means Shimshon HaGiber was also allowed to cut his hair every 30 days, maybe every year, maybe not. Nazir Olom is allowed to be mitam l'meis. Now, in the Mishnah for Siyum of Meseches Nazir, the very end of Meseches Nazir Lenin made, quote, Nazir hoye Shmuel. Shmuel was a Navi, ki divi Rab Nihorai says. Nihorai is a Tane, and the Gemara says in Eidevin that this is actually a Meir, but you'll see how the Sichos goes, we're separating from a Meir, that Shmuel was a Nazir. Shenema, because it says by Shmuel, Umoire leyala al reishe, with a hey, not with an aleph, that no blade is allowed to go on his head, and we learn Gzeira Shava, Nema b'Shimshon Ameida, and Nema b'Shmuel Ameida. By Shimshon says the word Umoire, the Malach said he's not allowed to cut his hair. So when Chana swore Umoire leyala al reishe, it means that he's going to be a Nazir. Okay, Ma'ameida Amma b'Shimshon Nazir, Afmeida Amma b'Shmuel Nazir. It's Shittis Rab Nihorai. Now he says we learned that Shmuel was a Navi from Gzeira Shava. Chana swore before she was even pregnant. That when she conceives and she has a child, that child is going to be a Nazir, and we know it from the word Umoida Gzeira Shava from Shimshon HaGiber. Amar Rabbi Yosi, Rabbi Yosi is Rab Nihorai. V'halei ein Moida elashos. The Moida doesn't mean blade; it means fear. And it doesn't mean fear of the Eibush, it means fear of a person. And therefore, when Shchana swore, or Moira, it means that Shmuel is never going to be afraid of anybody. Now basically totally disagrees. There's no such thing as a Nazir Shimshon. Okay? At least you don't learn it from the Nezirus HaKosov from Umayra. Amalek, Rebbe says, excuse me, that when Hashem told Shmuel to go tell Shaul, that Hashem tore the Meluch away from you and gave it to Reach Atei Mimeka, Shmuel was afraid to go. Shmuel said to the Eibishter, he's going to kill me. So we see that Shmuel was afraid of Shaul. So when Rabbi Yosi says that Omer Eliyal Reishi means he's not going to be afraid of any man, says Rabbi Nihorai back, excuse me, it says the Finish Tanakh was afraid of a man. So it can't mean Moira Loshen Pachad, because he was afraid of a person, and therefore it has to be Moira Loshen Razor. You understand? That's the machlokes back and forth. Now that's how the Mishnah finishes. Now how Rabbi Yosi would defend himself, I don't know. But the Maroi says that Shmuel is a Nazir, Gzeira Shava from Shimshon HaGiber Umeida. And Rabbi Yosi says no. Maybe Shmuel was a Navi, but it's not a Gzeira Shava of Shimshon HaGiber, because Umeida means fear. There was a bunch of kashas.
I'll ask you a question.
Okay.
Now another thing. If someone be a Nazir now, if someone now said,
Are any Nazir?
yeah,
So Allah he owes Nazirus. He can't be a Nazir now because he's tummy. And there's no paraduma. But when Mashiach comes, he's going to owe Nazirus. He's going to owe it. Unless he's mateneder. Yeah.
why can't we Nazir Shimshon? He said Nazir Shimshon.
L'chayre, can we make it another Shimshon? Why not? I mean, when it comes to Nedara Bechlal, there's a whole machlokes whether it's a good thing or it's a bad thing.
I met a guy here.
Camping a carbon, yes.
I met a guy in the neighborhood here who's got hair, he says, down to about there. Something he hadn't taken a haircut in 30 years.
Yid.
Yeah, he's a Nazir.
In Tafshin Memtes. The Rebbe passed away Chabei Shvat. So the Rebbe took a haircut before Rosh Hashanah Memtes, and then he didn't take a haircut a whole year. The Rebbe was down his back. I remember the very long hair. And Shalom Gansberg writes in his book. Bakedish Pnima, that there was nobody to tell the Rebbe to take a haircut. The Maskirim were afraid. Shalom after Memches was very important. Shalom went into the Rebbe and said to the Rebbe, maybe they're taking for Shavuos. The boy did long hair for all those months. There's a famous picture where the Rebbe was meeting Yankel Agerer. The Rebbe pushed long hair down his back. So the Rebbe says to Shalom, Chabnish Kahar, I'm bald, I have no hair to cut. And then he says, wait, a das versteht in Shulchan Aruch. Als Erev Shabbos abschneiden der Haar, geh sag der Bachem, als jeder Erev Shabbos schneidet ich mein Haar. In other words, you want to be, tell the Bachem, every Friday I cut a little bit of my hair. Lepel, the Rebbe took a haircut Shavuos, Nun Memtes. And the Rebbe spoke a Sicha, and a weekday Sicha, I remember the Rebbe speaking it, where the Rebbe said, he didn't say it explicitly, but the Rebbe said, an inyan for Nezirus. It was very obvious that the Rebbe was talking about his long hair, and when he cut that long hair, the Rebbe said in a Sicha, you can look it up. I remember the Rebbe saying it, an inyan for Nezirus. If we learn Shmuel's Nazirus from Shimshon Agibur, from Shimshon Agibur, Sichos, what should we do to Shmuel's Nazirus? That he should be Metamal Ameis. He should be Nazir Shimshon. You compare Shmuel to Shimshon. So if you learn the Nazirus from Shimshon, it'd be the same dinim of Nazirus, and that's not true. Shmuel was a Nazir Olom. He took a haircut every 12 months. And he was not like Mitamal Ames. So the kasha is, how could Reb Nihorai correlate the Nezirus of Shmuel Anavi to Nezirus of Shimshon Agibur? Because Umayra, if you're making a Gzera, the halacha of a Gzera Shava is, it has to be equal in all pratim.
So,
okay? Turn the page.
Rebbe Yosi isn't saying that Shmuel was not a Nazir. Rebbe Yosi is saying that Shmuel was not a Nazir from Shimshon.
Right, that you don't learn it from Umayra.
But they want to do that.
Oh, that I don't know. Face it.
Otherwise, what do you have to Shiva?
Look at page 64, first full paragraph. Paskint Ober, the Rambam Paskins, as Shmuel Aramasi Nazir Olom Hoya. Shmuel was a Navi just like Avshalom, which meant he was not allowed to be Mitamal Ameis, he was not allowed to drink wine, he was not allowed to cut his hair, and every 12 months he cut his hair. That's haste. And not alle Dinen Nazirs, all the Dinen Nazirs. Was wie gesagt, is Nazir Olom also Mitamal Ameis. So the kasha is, if the whole Nazirus of Shmuel, we learned from the Nazirus of Shimshon, B'gzeira Shava, like Nihorai says, so how come Shimshon Agibur was allowed to be Mitamal Amesim and Shmuel Aramasi was not? That's a very, very good kash. Shimshon was Amesim, Hich Pasari Eine Mekel. So I was wrong. The Rebbe said before, is that Oich a Nazir Olom, 3 lines on top of the second column, which L'chayda means that a Karshim, but the Rebbe is saying he wasn't. Okay? So some of the Mefarshim say that it's not a Gezerah Shav, it's only a Hekesh, and you could have a Hekesh Lamechsa. And the Rebbe doesn't like it. Okay, the Rebbe doesn't like it. So the bottom line is, we're comparing Shmuel to Shimshon, even though Shimshon was not a Nazir, a regular Nazir. We learned B'gzeira Shava, according to Reb Nihorai, from Shmuel to Shimshon, that Shmuel was a complete Nazir, even though Shimshon was not. Okay? It's a Gavaldik Akash, it's a Moedik Akash. Now, page 65, I'm just going to read the 2 Gemaras, okay? We just read a Mishnah. On this Mishnah, there's 2 Gemaras. Siv Gimel, first paragraph, page 65. Behemtich, the Mishnah sagt the Gemara. Amalei Rav L'chia Berei. Rav had a son named Reb Chia. He told him like this. Berei, Chatei v'berei, grab and make a bracha. Meaning to say, there was an opportunity to make benching, let's say. And when you bench, one guy says the bracha and everybody answers Amen. So Rav said to his son, you make the bracha and let everybody else answer Amen. Amalei Rav Huna l'Rabba. But Rabba bar Rav Huna was told by his father, Chatei v'berei. Someone has to bench. Everyone else is going to answer Amen. You be the one to bench. Frag the Gemara v'hatanya Rabbi Yosi Yomer. You see again Rabbi Yosi. Godel ha'oina Amen Yesem and Amavarech. That saying Amen, this is the Gemara also in the Masechet Pesachim, I believe, right? That answering Amen is more than making the bracha. So how come Rav and Rabbi Huna told their children that making the bracha is better than answering Amen? For Amalei Reb Nihorai answers Rabbi Yosi. Reb Nihorai answers Rabbi Yosi. Now remember, Rabbi Yosi is a Tana. Reb Nihorai is a Tanya. Rab Chia, Reb Huna, Rav Huna, Gadol ha'oina Amen Yesem and Amavarech. Amalei Reb Nihorai, Hashamayim, I swear, Kachu, that is the same thing. That the bracha and the Amen is the same. And Faket, making the bracha is more important. Taida brings it out. Shadei Gulayerim mitgarim b'melchama. The what they call the expeditionary force, the first soldiers to go to fight, are not the best. They're sending him to die, actually. And after the earlier soldiers go out and they weaken up, they soften up the enemy, then they send in the Marines and they win the battle. So we see from the Nihorai that that actually they're equal, but the ones who come last win. So Rabbi Yosi says, God la'ayin amen yosem namavarach. And Rabbi Nihorai, I guess Rabbi Nihorai is supporting him. Rabbi Nihorai, forget, I'm making a mistake. Rabbi Nihorai is agreeing with Rabbi Yosi that the later soldiers are better than the earlier soldiers. And the Gemara answers Tanoi, right? Why did Rav and Abhuna tell the students to make a bracha? If God la'ayin amen yosem namavarach, and Nihorai gives you a muscle for it from the first soldiers and the later soldiers. So the Tanya, we go to the Rai, echad ha'mavarach ve'echad ein amen b'mashma, that they're equal. It's better to make a bracha. So Rabbi Yosi says God la'ayin amen yosem namavarach. Rabbi Nihorai is agreeing with Rabbi Yosi by giving a mashal from first soldiers and later soldiers, and then we bring a brayse that says they're equal, but there's a reason to make a bracha. Of course, all of this needs to be explained. Correct? Now, of course, when you learn this, if you and I learn any Gemara, okay, so the Gemara talks about Nazir and then it's talking about brachas. Who cares? The Rebbe says there's got to be a reason why this machlekes about whether it's better to make the bracha first, it's better to answer the amen, or they're equal, but it's better to make a bracha, is adjacent, is right after this machlekes between Rabbi Nihorai and Rabbi Yosi, if you learn the Nezirus of Shmuel from the Nezirus of Shimshon or not. Now, next column, page 65, second column. Okay, you with me? Nachmer is Nishmuv in the Siyum of Gemara. After you had the Mishnah, which we just learned, and you had the story in the Gemara of Rav and Abchi and Rabbi Huna and the member of Rabbi Yosi and Rabbi Nihorai, the Mishnah, if you want to finish, is Amar Rabbi Laza, Amar Rabbi Chanina, Tamid Yecham Ma'am Shalom Ben, and what does it not say? It doesn't say Atikir B'noich Al B'noich. It just finishes this way. Now, right, the Rebbe used to speak many times that there are 4 Mesichtes and Shas. They're all finished the same way. This is Mesichtes Bonayich, Braches, Nazir, the Chof is Krisus, and the Yud is not Yuma. I forgot what the Yud is. Could be Yavamis. But the Nud, there's also my Kot Maranga Haktagen. But maybe the Yud is Yavamis. I don't remember. But for sure, Nazir finishes the Gemara, but it doesn't say I'll take a B'noich Al B'noich, and the Rebbe wants to understand why. So Rabbi said the Rebbe here's the Rebbe's kasha. First of all, how could Rabbi Nihorai make the Gzeira Shava? Rabbi Yosi is right. Second of all, how was that connected to a machlokes, whether it's better to make a bracha or it's better to answer amen, or they're both equal, but making a bracha you have to chaparayin? And how is it connected to the last member in the Gemara, without saying, Al Tika B'noich Al B'noich? Are we good? Now, Sif Hey, Rabbi said, turn the page, 66, Sif Hey. And now the Sicha takes off. In other words, we set the stage. What we learned in these 19 minutes and 6 seconds is Reka. We set the stage. We understand the kashas. Kasha number 1 is how do you compare the Nezirus of Shmuel to the Nezirus of Shimshon? Right? And what's the Machlokes of Yosi and Rabbi Nihorai? Kasha number 2, how was that connected to the idea of whether it's better to make a bracha or better to answer amen? And kasha number 3, how is it connected to Talmid Echam Ma'am Shalom Bayim? So in Sif Hey, the Rebbe gives the answer. Vet men verstehen kolonal behegdim kushas haradak. The Rebbe brings a radak. Radak is on Tanakh. The radak on Sefer Sheftim asks a very simple question. V'yazeh is Shmuel Gevor and a Nazir. How does Shmuel become a Nazir? Chana, his mother, she's not even pregnant yet, right? So ein other makdish dava shalei bala olam. Especially in her case, since she was an akara, right? The mayor says if it's a the shchiach, maybe right? She's not even pregnant, and she's being mad at her son ben Nazir. A woman has no built mazal Nazir. A father could, but a father's being mad at his son ben Nazir that Rambam is going to see in a moment has no basis in the Torah. V'yazoy is Shmuel Gavar Hadran Nazir. Ken minidzogen, you cannot say. Man ken nidzogen, you cannot say. Das is mitzad neder Chana ime, because Chana swore. Skip the parenthesis. Varam Shmuel is doch demot nicht gewend by Olom und the neder is nicht chal. Everybody knows that by neder there's a din of tfisa, right? It's not a shvua. It's din of tfisa, right? In yeshivish sprach, shvua is gavra and neder is chavtze. You can't be neder on a chavtze which doesn't exist. Shmuel didn't exist. She wasn't even pregnant. Okay? Beis, afilu v'nevel given be'elam, even if he was alive, is the neder for Chananish b'keach so machan shvuah for a Nazir, because the halacha is ha'isha madir b'nei b'nazir ve'ein ha'isha madir is b'nazir. A woman cannot make her son a Nazir. It's a gzeira sakosov. It's a milsabili timer. That a father could make his son who's a katan into a Nazir and a mother cannot. So how do you become a Nazir at all? When did Shmuel become a Nazir? And then the Rebbe continues, last paragraph on the page, you can't even say, you can say maybe she made the neder, and Elkanah heard it, and it wasn't made for the neder. I guess that's made neder. We know maybe it was Makayim the neder. Okay, and that's why Shmuel was a Nazir. Even though a father could be mad at B'nazir, but he can't be mad at B'nazir, it doesn't exist B'nazirus. So how B'chlal was Shmuel a Nazir? It's a gewaldige kash. Sif Vav Rabboisai, page 67, Sif Vav. Al derech zeh ken nefrege b'negeh to Shimshon. Right? Shmuel becomes a Nazir because his mother swears, makes a neder, a vow. She doesn't have the authority of anybody. Right? How did Shimshon become a Nazir? A Malach. Yeah? The Rambam sagt, Shimshon l'hoya Nazir Gomer. Shimshon's not a complete Nazir. Because he was allowed to become Tamil Meis. It's when the mashma implicit, as had gehat Nezirus of sich. When the Rambam writes Eini Nazir Gomer, it means he was not the perfect Nazir, but it doesn't mean that he wasn't the Nazir at all. Right? In other words, Nezirus Shimshon, yeah? Is that partial Nezirus or it's Tama Neder? If I come along tomorrow, yeah, Rabbi Yaakov, and I say, I make a neder, I'm not cutting my hair. Yeah, am I a Nazir? No. It's a neder. If I say I make a neder, I'm not drinking wine. That's not a Nezirus, yeah? Because Nezirus is not just a Pishos, right? Nezirus is a Kedusha. And Nezirus is a dinner Kedusha for Kein Gadol. Nezirus is a Kedusha for Kein Gadol. So if a person accepts upon Nezirus, I'm not going to drink wine, I'm not going to cut my hair, I'm not going to make it, it's a Kedusha. Shimshon HaGibur was Metamel HaMeis. So is he not Kaddish B'Kedushas Nezirus at all? Or is he not Kaddish B'Kedushas Nezirus B'Shleimus? What's the Rambam's language? Is Nish Nazir Gomor. So the Rebbe is medayik from the Rambam, not Nazir Gomor means Nazir Abyssal he was. It's from them mashma the hat Kedushas Nezirus of sich. That Shimshon HaGibur's Nezirus was not Stama Neder, it was a Geder of Kedusha, not nor a Hanhaga from Nezirus, or Pishas Yayin, nor it's only Navaden, nor Nitki Nazir Gomor. Top of the second column, page 6, is Nishmu, the same kasha. V'ibal, das lei nodeh ben Nazir, ela Malach efrishe, Shimshon HaGibur never said, oh, ben Nazir, never said it. The Malach made him to a Nazir, v'yet das gepeilt. How did it affect, as the Metzias, Chefze from Shimshon, that the entity called Shimshon HaGibur, who also was not yet born, by the way, when the Malach spoke his words of Eren HaNazir, al kaponim Sheni Gomer, a Malach can ibege ben Atzivui. A Malach has halachas. A Malach give over a commandment. A mitzvah wegen Hanhagi can give an instruction about Papa doing a certain thing. I see this. Aber wo gefindt man as ken Makadish sein? Who gave Malachim halachic authority to be Makadish a person in Nezirus? They're not people. A rufla gives Nezirus by ben Adam. Shimshon, the Malach could have said to Eishes Manoach and then to Manoach, when he's born, you make him a Nazir.
He made him Nazir. The Malach made him Nazir.
But that's what he said. The Malach said, I'm making him a Nazir. Who authorized Malachim to make Nezirus? They can't be Makadish with Nezirus. Right? Un oich da kemen it zogen. Here's the same thing on the Rambam. As Taka Manoach hat die Malach Nezirus, that after the Malach said that Manoach repeated the Nezirus, warum the Rambam sagt, klar shalai nodir ben Nazir el amach. The Rambam's expression is befedish. Nobody was ever menader him ben Nazir, only a Malach. In other words, the reason he's not a Nazir Gomer is not only because he was Metamel HaMeis, but because he was not Mekudesh Adei Ben Adam. So the Kash is a Posheted. There was no Neder at all. She's not Nazir at all. There's nothing. No human being was benad the Shimshon HaGibur. His father could be benad him once he's born. He was also not yet conceived when the Malach said it. Yeah. And no human being repeated that Nezirus. How was he a Nazir? Right? And then he goes on to say that the Malach told his mother and so on and so forth. Yeah? Now, last few lines. Page 68, bottom of the first column. Page 68, bottom of the first column. Vowed. Oi by Shimshon v'Shmuel. If you're going to say about Shimshon v'Shmuel and Nazir, Nezirus give them mitzadem, that somehow the Nezirus was because Ishmat has been named Nazir, that Elkanah was Mekayim the neder of Chana, and Moneach was Mekayim the instructions of the Malach, is wie passed of them to Zogi. Why does the Rambam say, as das was a ish mother is b'nei ben Nazir, the idea that a father can make a son Nazir is halacha ben Nazir, halacha l'meishu misina, v'losh the Rambam ein leismach b'kosov v'leidemes. The Rambam says this din that a father could be makadosh b'nei ben mother not has no basis in the Torah. Asasipa b'furish b'neviyim. If you're going to say that the Nazirus of Shmuel, Shimshon, and the Nazirus of Shmuel, because the father was makayim the neder, so then it's a finish a pasuk. And the Rambam says that this halacha that a father can make a son a neder has no basis in the Tanakh. Is a raya that they didn't do it. So Elkanah was not makayim the neder of Chana. Moneach did not make a neder after the Malach gave him the instructions. So we're back to square one. How would they b'chval Nazirim? And the Rebbe gives a gewaldige teretz, and this teretz right away explains to Shittas of Nihorai beautifully. Siv Zayin, is there beard in them? Number one, man kann nicht sagen, as Shimshon and Shmuel seine gewähnen Nazirim, weil sie allein haben Makabel that he cannot say that they were born, grew up, they reached the age of Mufla Samach Le'ish, and they made themselves into a neder. Warum gefindt nicht kein Remes because of them. There's no hint in the pasuk that they decided to become the Nazirim when they reached the age of Nedarim. Und der Rambam sagt befehlish bin Yele Shimshon halei not lei nada. At least for Shimshon HaGibur, it had befehlish that he was not Menadar himself. So one thing is for sure not true. We're never going to say that Nezirus of Shimshon and Shmuel was because when they came of age, they repeated the neder. Le'idach, on the other hand, from Law Shana Mishnah Shenema, says in the Mishnah Umeira Yala Reisha, that we learn Nezirus from a blade. Nema b'Shimshon Umeira, Nema Shmuel b'Meira, Ma Meira b'Shimshon Chulu, Sukim v'Shteim b'M Tzivi HaMalach and the Chana. It's written by the Malach and the neder of Chana. Is mashma, it's implicit as Inyan HaNezirus by Zeh, that Shmuel HaNavi and before him Shimshon HaGibur were Nezirus, kommt von Tzivi HaMalach und neder Chana. Since the pasuk, the Mishnah makes this correlation that somehow the Malach's words made him a neder, a Nazir, somehow Chana's neder made Shmuel Nazir, even though they can't do it. Hayes aber das allein ken doch nit peilen ken Nezirus. But we just established that a mother cannot be mad ben Nazir, especially since he wasn't born, and a Malach makes someone into a Nazir. Here's the Rebbe's language. They would never make themselves into a Nazir. The Malach and Chana could also not make them into a Nazir. But the Malach and Chana could provide me'ein siba, something like a cause. So Shmuel and Shimshon never say the words Ahab Nazir. They never say it. But there's a me'ein siba. The Malach's words to Shimshon HaGibur's mother and father, Chana, Shmuel's mother's neder, are me'ein siba that somehow, without them ever saying Ahab Nazir, they're going to become full Nazir. What's the logic? And the Rebbe gives you a very glatt raya, mamish. The Rebbe is going to speak 30 seconds and say, oh my God, why didn't I think of it myself? Very glatt, very obvious. Ager cotton. If it's a child, the family converts to Judaism. It happens a lot. A father and a mother and children who are non-Jews go through Gir to become Yeri Tzedek. The din is matbil meis a das bezin. You toivel the child on the das bezin. Oder wenn sich megayet zusammen mit Oviv al das Oviv, right? So you take this child and you toivel him mikvah das bezin das Oviv, then he's going to become a yid. Top of 69 now. Is there din? As when that boy becomes bar mitzvah, he can say, I don't want to be Jewish. And if he says so, he's not a yid. Right? Now what happens if he doesn't say so?
Does he have to specifically say, I want to be a yid?
You heard the question? Does he have to specifically say, I want to be a yid? Or does he have to specifically say, I don't want to be a yid?
He has to say, I don't want to be a yid.
Now what happens if he doesn't say anything?
He's
He's automatically a Yid. Why? Because someone will beguile him as child Bal Korche. You see the chap? That's the word. Chana could not make Shmuel a Nazir. But when Shmuel came of age and he didn't object, he automatically became a Nazir, not by having to repeat it, because it's a hemshech of what his mother said.
Why can't he stika gedaima?
Shtika keidah. But the chap is the shtika is not just keidah. Shtika keidah works in money. If you say I owe you money and I don't respond, I owe you the money. Shtika keidah works in machlekes, but shtika doesn't work in hektish. You know, if I say your glasses are a carbon and you don't respond, it becomes a carbon. The reason it works here because they continued acting like Nazirim. It's more than shtika. When Shmuel continued being a Nazir one day after his bar mitzvah, one day after Mufsal Ish, when Shimshon continued being a Nazir, he made his mother's Nezirus and the Nezirus of the Malach kiyum without ever saying the words. Retroactively, just like a child who comes by mitzvah, he doesn't have to say, I want to be Jewish. He has to simply not say, I don't want to be a Yid. Glatt, gewaldig. Simple tenets. Mom is very simple. Wait, let me read the paragraph before. 69, first few words. Is the din as when when they become grown ups, they can object. But look at the words. If 1 hour passes after bar mitzvah and they don't object, the 1 hour of practicing Torah mitzvahs after the age of bar mitzvah makes them a full-fledged Yid, and they cannot retract after that 1 hour because their actions made them Jewish.
In other words, when the kid is bar mitzvah that night,
he has to object right away. And wait, but there's a big chap. He doesn't go to mikveh again.
Yeah.
When he, for 1 hour, keeps Torah mitzvahs, he's confirming the mikveh he may have done when he was a child. Even though when you converted this child, he became a convert, how can you later object? And stop being a Jew, right. How can he now become ois yid? He's going to be a goy like he was before.
Even though.
Not a question, it's a statement.
If, when he was a child, he became a gay, how can he now become ois yid? While the Geirus bekatnuse, the teretz says, the Geirus is das mered via meisav. Here's the lumdus. This is the fancy words. It was an act of Geirus without a Kabbalah's Geirus. Right? Aber wird noch nicht kodem b'dushas Yisrael. We did an act of conversion, but we didn't convert him. We did the meiser, right? The halacha is, we learned that those learn perikach alayim and ambam. Yesh lekotten meiser and lekotten machshava, right? A cotton can do an act. Cotton's actions have powers. But the act of a cotton has power on a level of action, not on a level of kedusha. When this child toiveled in the mikveh, it was a meiser geirus, but it didn't have kedushas geirus. Bize vet agodl. B'shas aber higdel becomes an adult, is nitmeche, and he allows the status quo to stay, which is that the meiser geirus is going to continue 1 hour after his bar mitzvah. He becomes holagiyad, and it's retroactive. And the Rebbe says, "Was der Far darf nicht haben noch mal kein Tvila." He's going to mikveh again, because all the child has to do is not object. In other words, the child continues doing the actions he was doing until then. Until bar mitzvah, there were meiser geirus, the kedushas geirus. The moment he does it as an adult, that meiser mitzvahs that he does as an adult becomes the kedushas geirus l'mafreya. And the Rebbe continues, Al derech zevelei mamish, similar but not identical, yeder ger, any ger. Oh, there is a different dugma nigla, right? Was mol v'dayin le'tovel. You went to did a bris milah, you didn't tovel, the halach is you can still have charata, even if you're an adult. The Rebbe brings that Ramban that holds that after a ger does a bris, they delay the mikveh. They don't do it right away. And the reason is they want to give him a chance to change his mind. So he makes a bris, and until he goes to the mikveh and says Nasa v'nishma, he can either bris was al lachnise bevrise shel Avraham Avinu. It's contingent on the mikveh which is later. And when it goes to mikvah later, that bris doesn't need a tafas dam. It's a good bris l'mafreya. So he did a maisa gerus, but the kedushas hagerus is the mikvah in the Kabbalah mitzvahs. Page 69. May ein zeh beniden didan. The Rebbe continues 4 paragraphs down. You're reading inside. We're good, Rabbi Say.
Yeah, great.
The tzivui hamalach. The Malach tells Eishes Manoach and then Manoach, Umoira leyala al roisha, he should never cut his hair. Ki Nazir lekim hi anam and abetem. He's going to be a Nazir from birth. Hot nishgi ken pelin ken kedushas Nazir Shimshon agibir. It did not make Shimshon agibir Kaddish as a Nazir. As at norma chayg when adin when hagas Nezirus, there was nice in Nezirus, not kedushas Nezirus. Which means it's as if I were to say that if I swear I'm not drinking wine, it's not a din in Nazir, it's a din in Nedarim. But this is a din in Nedarim which is contingent. That when Shimshon is going to become of age, and he's going to continue it, then it's not just going to be a Maisa Nazirus, it's going to become Kedushas Nazirus. And he's not going to have to make the neder again. As at Nor Mechayev given a din for Nazirus, as Shimshon's only Megaleach sein, on the drinking can wine, he's not going to cut his hair and drink wine. And the Rebbe continues, last paragraph, page 69, Azoy Oich the neder from Chana, when Chana vowed, Umoira Loyal al Roisha, that there will no be a blade on my head. It's just a neder, it's a vow, was his blaze mechuyev zich zu neig sein and hagav aprishos. The whole Nezirus of Shmuel, which involved all 3 things, no wine, no cutting hair, no matam alamesim, was a precious. It was a mice of Nezirus without kedushas Nezirus. Noch mer, afilu lagabe and hagas Nezirus had the neder gekent chalzen of Shmuel. The hanhaga of Nezirus, the neder part of it did not rest on Shmuel. When Shmuel nit kein neder nit getach beke neder and Chana has you nummed neder zen Shmuel so sich viel mit all din und dit kom ich heim. Chana took the neder. Shmuel was to keep it. So by Shmuel, not only there's no kedushas Nezirus, there's no neder Nazir. There's only Maisa Nezirus. There's only precious. By Shimshon Agibed, the Malach could say do Maisa Nezirus, no kedusha. Yeah. By Shmuel, not only it's not kedushas Nezirus, it isn't even a neder Nezirus. It's just a precious. You can turn the page. 70. B'shas ober. When, however, they grew up, they made no macho, they haben sich weiter geführt and they continue doing the Maisa Nezirus or the Maisa Precious, which Shimshon Agib had been doing and which Shmuel had been doing. Hat das gepeilt and they kedushas Nezirus lebafreya, they became Nazirim in the sense of holiness. By Shimshon, there was also a Yain, also a Taglachas, he was not allowed to drink wine and cut his hair. And by Shmuel, the Nazir, it is a whole thing in Nazirus. In other words, it says, Nit kein inyan von Zeir an Neder. This was not their Neder. Because if it was their Neder, they're from a Kabbalah. If it was their Neder, made a Kabbalah. Or the Balev Kabbalah. Like the halachas of Nazirus work, whatever the particulars are. Nor Zeir Mamshech sein, by them continuing. With the Anhagas and Nazirus, with the behavior of Nazirus, or the behavior of precious, we biz demot until then. In other words, parenthesis, Heder HaMacha, by not objecting, had gepelt Chaleis Kedushas, this Mafreya, it affected that the Kedushas and Nazirus, which the Malach tried to put on Shimshon and couldn't, and Chana tried to put on Shimshon and couldn't, now it landed.
So why does Shmuel have also saying that his parents only want to do a full neder versus Malach only want to do a certain type of Nezirus?
Because Chana cannot be mad at Shmuel.
No, but why is Shmuel different than Shimshon, is my question.
Oh, in the halachas?
Yeah.
Because there were different gedarim to the Nazirus in the first place.
Same, because the Malach said only.
Yeah, right.
And his parents had in mind at all.
Correct. Al derech hanau by a ger cotton, by a young ger, as a darf nit haben noch mal kemaise ger, this is the question a second time, says basa maispik maise ger, says going to the mikveh the child was enough. So now, what was the kasha? What was the kasha at the beginning of the Sikha? If you make a gzeira shavu meira, Shimshon and Shmuel have to be the same, right?
Yeah.
But they're not. So what's the Rebbe's teretz? What's the gzeira shavu? The gzeira shavu is not the dinim of Nezirus. The gzeira shavu is how the Nezirus is chal. The gzeira shavu umoira from Shmuel to Shimshon is not that Shmuel is a Nazir like Shimshon is a Nazir, but that Shmuel's Nazirus is going to happen when he continues the Nazirus as a Gadol, which his mother swore, just like Shimshon became a Nazir when he became a Gadol, for what the Malach said. Unbelievable! It's a go'oyne shechap. You understand what the Rebbe just did? He answered a kasha of the Cheder Shedim Frig. How could you have a Gzeira Shava Lemechza? If it's a Meira or Meira, if it's a Gzeira Shava, it's not a Hekesh. Yeah. So Shmuel has to be exactly like Shimshon. How are they different? And yet he's exactly like Shimshon. But not in the dinim of the Nezirus, in the dinim of the Chaleis HaNezirus. Now, why don't I finish the Sichos? It's 10:34. If you count pages, I'm almost done. Right? I got 4 or 5 pages left. Why? Because the Go'oinus first begins now. What the Rebbe is going to do, this svara that we just presented about the Gzeira Shava. Right? The kasha was, if you make a Gzeira Shava from Shimshon to Shmuel, so Shimshon was not a Nazir, he wasn't a Nazir Gomor, he was allowed to be B'tal Mesim, Shmuel should have been the same thing. And the teretz is, no, the Gzeira Shava is not for the dinim of the Nazirus, but for the Chaleis of the Nazirus. And the Rebbe is going to connect it to the Shaila of making a bracha is better, answering Amen is better. Because answering Amen, the Gabi Bracha, is like a child growing up and affirming his Geirus. And he's going to connect it to Talmidei Chacham and Mab Shalom Ba'elam. There's a Chacham and a Talmud Chacham. The Talmud Chacham comes after the Chacham and he affirms what the Chacham did. The Rebbe is going to make the svara that we just had and he's going to apply it to two shtiklach agadete. We've had this before. Yeah. And it's going to work gnoi.
We're going to wait for next week to learn ourselves.
Huh?
Wait till next week.
Yeah, right, yeah. No, I have to give it a special shiur. Okay. I have to. It's worth it. It's worth it to spend 2 weeks to see how this aligns.
We'll have to go over the beginning again next week.
Okay, nicht gefährlich. The Sikh is long but not hard. The Sikh is long but not hard.